Hi, my name is Jarrett. I am the graphic designer for an Xbox Live indie game my brother and I are working on called Robofish. To give a brief overview of the game, it's a dual stick shoot 'em up that has a unique twist that kind of allows players to create and customize their own weapons as they progress through the game. And to do that, players use what we call the weapon factory. And in this video, I kind of want to show you what the weapon factory is capable of and some of the cool features it has that will hopefully make Robofish a fun and also unique experience for players who are used to this type of genre. Alright, so let's go into the weapon factory. This first area is where the game stores all the weapons you have created. The player will use these simple icons to differentiate between their weapons that they've created. Now I'm going to go ahead and start a fresh one, a brand new weapon here. However, you can also choose the random option, which will use all available components that the player currently has available to them, within the weapon factory, and it'll create a completely random weapon from those components. But for now, we're just going to start a new one here, and it's going to ask you to choose your icon. I'm just going to do the rabbit. This screen is sort of an overview screen of the current weapon you are creating. It displays how many projectiles the weapon has, where each projectile is around Robofish, and the type of spread that the projectile is currently enabled as. I'll talk more about spread types in a little bit here, but when you first start making a new weapon, you'll only have one projectile with default generic properties assigned to it. If this was my first time doing this, I would come to the screen and be thinking, well, what does it look like? So we added this feature called the preview screen, and basically it allows players to view their weapon at any time during this process. So I'll go ahead and press the preview button here, and you can kind of see it's just a pretty generic default yellow laser right now. It's shooting really slow, does the smallest amount of damage, and so it's pretty boring right now, but we can change that by editing the projectile. So when players first come here, and when they first select a projectile, they're going to have a choice to edit it or copy it. So let's edit this first projectile. When you edit a projectile, there's a red circle that appears around a Robofish, and the current projectile you're editing turns yellow. You can move this projectile anywhere around Robofish inside the red circle. And you can angle it to any degree that you want. It can be 360 degree choice here. I'm just going to have it shoot straight up for now. Also at this point, like I was talking about earlier, you can choose the spread type. And spread types tell the projectile how to shoot from Robofish. This default spread type is just straight outward. But you can have different spread types. Here are some of the different ones where they can shoot out from different, you can shoot outward at random angles as well as random points in front of Robofish that either go straight out or at an angle. It may sound kind of confusing in words, but the preview screen makes everything simple. I believe we have about 9 or 10 different spread types at the moment for players to play around with. But I'll kind of briefly show you here. This one, I'll shoot straight up here, and it's not going straight up anymore. It's kind of coming out at random points in front of Robofish and then shooting at different angles. So that's just one of the 9 or 10 different spread types. And the player starts out with 2 or 3 of these, and will have to earn more money by playing the game and purchasing different types of spread types in the shop later on. And I'll make another video about the shop and the other features of the game at another point. So basically for this first part, I'm just going to do a straight up projectile. And we're going to go to the next part of the creation process here. In this area, players can change the movement pattern of the projectile they're editing as well as the range. The movement pattern tells the projectile how it moves as it travels across the screen. Again, the preview screen is a huge help here. I'll show you some of the different movement patterns we currently have working. This first one's obviously just straight ahead here, and then whoops, that's the range. This one kind of wiggles back and forth. You can see there. We also have these half moon type curves you can do. But I'm just going to keep it straight for now. Like I said, you can change the range here too, from unlimited, medium to short. Short, it kind of dies out real quick there. I'm just going to do unlimited. You're probably wondering why anybody would ever choose medium or short, and for some it may just be fun to make different looking weapons, but it also can be used to decrease your weapon's temperature to allow for other things such as damage, speed, or hit effects to be increased. But I kind of explained to you what the weapon temperature and what I mean by that. As you can see on the right there's a gauge called temp, and this will rise as you create projectiles and edit them by doing such things as increasing damage, speed, or hit effects, or rate of fire. Once the temp gauge reaches full, your weapon will overheat, we call it, and the factory won't be able to create it. So this is kind of our way of balancing the game and not allowing players to create too powerful of weapons too early on in the game. So for example, say you made a powerful weapon with unlimited range and a bunch of hit effects, but it's overheating. So you could decrease the range from unlimited to medium or short, and that'll lower the temperature to allow it to be created. So you're sacrificing a little range, but you get to keep your power. Or vice versa, you can lower the range, or I'm sorry, lower the power and keep the range unlimited. But when players first start playing, the temperature gauge will be about a third of the size that you're seeing on the screen right now. Like the spread types, players can purchase larger temp gauges in the shop to allow for more powerful weapon creations later on in the game. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next screen here. This next area is where you choose the damage, fire rate, and move speed of the selected projectile. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can increase or decrease the damage, make the firing rates faster, slower, as well as the move speed. I'll kind of just increase the damage here a little bit, increase the firing rate and move speed. And here you can also start seeing the temperature gauge on the right. You can see that yellow stuff start creeping up there, and that'll just keep increasing until it overheats as you keep creating your weapon. But here the preview screen really comes in handy again. You can see the effects of what you're doing pretty clearly. Here there's fire. I'll lower the fire rate to nothing. Here there you can see the move speed is already a lot more than it used to be. And then I'll crank up the fire speed here. And there, it's shooting kind of like a machine gun now. You can decrease the moving speed if you think it's too fast. But so that's that screen. Alright, here's where things can start to get a little interesting. This area, you have the options to assign two different hit effects to your projectile, or the same hit effect, whatever you choose. And basically hit effects are special effects that occur or have a chance to occur when a projectile collides with an enemy. I'm going to assign the first hit effect here to something called Ricochet, and this hit effect adds the ability for your projectile to sometimes bounce off an enemy and hit other enemies. So you can even increase the chance that it occurs. Each hit effect has its own bar down here where you can increase or decrease. Either be increase or decrease the damage, or increase the frequency that it occurs, or something like that, or I don't know, or the amount that it leeches life. We have a life leech hit effect as well. But I'm going to go ahead and put this one on here. And then the second hit effect I'm going to do is something called that we have a Rift Teleport. Basically, when a projectile hits something with this on it, it has a chance to teleport to another location on the screen and continue its path. But as it teleports, it also explodes and does damage to all the enemies near the teleportation area where the rift opens up. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the preview screen so you can kind of see these two things happen here. See, there was a teleport right away. I'll see if we can get a ricochet to go off here. They're all kind of dying right away, but I think that was a ricochet. But it occurs a lot more when you get more projectiles on your weapon. See, there was 2 teleports right there. There's a couple more. So again, you can check the preview screen out, make sure everything's looking how you want it to look, and that way you can see how the different hit effects work, that type of thing. Right now in the game, we currently have 15 different hit effects working. We're thinking about adding a few more before the release. Some of them include AoE effects, damage over time effects. There's even, like I said before, there's a life leech. There's one that freezes enemies. There's some pretty cool ones. The Weapon Factory allows you to make 8 different projectiles per weapon, and each projectile, as you can see, has the option of 2 different hit effects. So there's a bunch of room for creativity when you're making your weapons, and we really hope players will enjoy mixing and matching different hit effects on the projectiles to create unique and crazy fish killing weapons and stuff like that. So that's the hit effects. The next screen here. Okay, so this is the last part of the projectile editing process here, and it's how you choose how the projectile is going to look is the last part here. So you have 3 options to do that. You can change the way the projectile looks as far as the graphic itself goes, or the damage effect, which is played when the projectile hits something. I'm going to go ahead and make the graphic a green thing here, and the damage effect is also going to be green, and then the particle effect follows the projectile around as it travels across the screen and does some pretty neat effects. So here's what it looks like now. A lot better than that yellow laser. It's teleporting around and ricocheting and doing all that stuff that we put on there. So now we got our first projectile made, and we're going to go back to the first screen here. So now that we got our first projectile made, we can either start a new one or copy this one that we made. I'm going to go ahead and copy it and then move it kind of to the side a little, and maybe make the firing rate a little bit lower. And this is what it's going to look like. Now I got 2 projectiles, and you can have up to 8 like I said before, so it can get pretty crazy. So this is our first weapon that we made, and it seems pretty effective, but so that's probably going to close out this video, and I'll show you more weapons and all kinds of different stuff in later videos, but that was just a quick overview of how the factory works. Thanks for watching, and our game is currently in playtesting. So if you are a developer and you want to check it out, feel free, and I hope to hear some feedback. Thanks, guys.